A great deal of attention is paid to the movement of stock prices on the exchange, and like many other things, the prices are governed by the law of supply and demand. They reflect the pulse and tempo of the economy at home and abroad. A surprisingly large number of Irish people have a direct interest in the daily rise and fall of prices on the exchange. You don't have to be rich to invest in stocks and shares. All sorts of people do. There are 18,000 shareholders in Guinness, 11,000 shareholders in Imperial Tobaccos, 3,000 in Woolworths, and many tens of thousands hold various kinds of government stock. How does the man in the street go about investing in the stock exchange? Almost certainly, he will go to one of the 32 stockbroking firms licensed to deal on the Dublin Exchange. Their offices are all within a few minutes' walk of the exchange, in the streets around College Green. Some are in modern blocks. The more traditional in Victorian buildings. Old world premises like this firm in Anglesea Street. The man with money to invest, be it £100 or £100,000, may well be impressed by the gleam of mahogany, the overall air of courteous, professional practice, of established dependability. These may impress him, but what he wants essentially is informed guidance and advice about possible investments.
Good day to you.
Good morning.
You can take it here.
Thank you. Now, let's suppose that I'm a man who's inherited a small amount of money, a few £100. I've no other use for it. I'd like to invest it in the stock exchange. Never done this before, and I've come to you for advice. What would you suggest to me?
Well, I would first ask you some questions, and I would presume that you would wish to invest this money in safe securities.
Yes.
Being the prime purpose, safety of capital. And I would then suggest to you that 50% of it be invested in a government loan. And the yields on government loans at the moment are approximately 5.5 to 5.75%. I then would suggest that the balance be invested in equities, ordinary shares, where the yield is approximately 3.5 to 4%.
Now, you've described these as safe shares. Is there any risk at all attached to them? Could I lose any capital on them?
Well, there would be a risk. There is a risk in every investment, as you'll probably appreciate. In government loans, the risk is very small. In equities, the ordinary shares, there is a somewhat larger risk. There is a larger fluctuation in prices.
But this could work to my advantage as well as give me a loss.
Yes, certainly.
Now, supposing after a year or so of this investment, I wanted to get my money back for another purpose, how long would it take me?
Well, in the case of government loans, they can be sold in 24 hours and the check delivered to the client. And in the case of industrial shares and all other securities in the market, it takes approximately a fortnight to 3 weeks. It all depends upon the date of instructions.
Now, on these transactions, do I pay a commission?
Yes. A commission rate on government loans is 7 and 6%. A rate on industrial shares is 30 shillings %.
Now, let's suppose that I'm not interested in these safe shares and small returns. I'd like to do a bit of gambling. What would you suggest to me then?
Well, then, in that event, I'd have to ask you some more questions. I would have to, you'd have to appreciate that we do not encourage gambling in the stock exchange because it is a very risky game.
Well, perhaps the word gamble is wrong, but I want to go for shares with a bigger return.
Well, yes, you can get up to 8 and 9% on certain classes of securities. There is, as you appreciate, a larger risk there. Fluctuations are somewhat greater.
But as well as this 8 or 9%, I could even double my money?
Yes, yes, that's quite a possibility. And you could lose half of it, if not more.
As a last question, is the small man, the sort of man I've described with £600-700 to invest, is he welcome to you as a broker and to the stock exchange itself?
Yes, indeed, he's very welcome. We like to see them coming along and taking an interest in the stock market, and we always welcome them.
Well, after hearing about medium-term loans and all the rest, the new investor may like to look at the exchange itself. This he can do from the visitors' gallery above the market room. Opened about 70 years ago, this was the first public gallery of any stock exchange in the world. If he times his arrival just before the morning session, he'll see the circles of chairs dominated by the raised chair of the president of the exchange. Why do they sit in a circle? Simply, they say, because they've never sat any other way. Each firm has its own chair, and only one representative of each firm may deal at any one session. Stockbrokers are agents for their clients, of course, but they're not barred from investing and speculating on their own accounts. Along one side of the room is a huge blackboard. On it are marked the names of various types of shares and their current prices. First come Irish and British government stocks, then other categories. During the session, the Secretary of the Exchange or his assistant will call out each security in turn and chalk up its new price, as determined by transactions on the floor. Simultaneously, the new prices or quotations are recorded for the daily list. This daily list is in effect the private daily newspaper or trade journal of the stock exchange. When all the members have arrived from their nearby offices, the president takes his place and the opening bell rings. The secretary's assistant calls out the categories, and dealing begins. A flurry of calls, offers, acceptances. One broker has, say, 200 shares to sell. Another wants to buy a quantity of the same shares. Selling brokers stretch out their arms when their security is called. Those who want to buy gesture towards themselves.